is it YouTube?
YouTube Live.
YouTube Live. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Hare Krishna Temple. This is the Sunday program broadcasting through YouTube. Hare Krishna tell you, everybody out there in internet YouTube land. So usually we're going to be speaking from Bhagavad-gita, second chapter, which is the beginning and instructions of Lord Krishna. Before we start, we'll chant following Srila Prabhupada. He usually would chant a prayer before we read. You know the prayer. Jaya Radha Madhav. You know this? In Hare Krishna Kirtans, when there's the musical things, there's no conductor. You know that? No conductor with us behind the podium. With her. So how do people stay in tune? Stay in time? Well, sometimes they don't. But we're supposed to pay close attention to the whoever's leading. That tempo, so everybody can chant together. So usually we chant call and response fashion. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद धर्महंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस AC भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नाम आचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 We're reading from the Bhagavad-gita as it is, second chapter, 42nd and 43rd verse. I'll chant and you can follow. How about at home? Can they follow? Okay. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschita vedavadarata partha nanyad astiti vadina कामात्मान स्वर्ग परा जन्म कर्म फल प्रदान क्रिया विशेष बहुलाम भोगैश्वर्य गतिम प्रति याम इमाम पुष्पिताम वाचं प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चिता वेदवादरता पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिना कामात्मान स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फल प्रदान क्रिया विशेष बहुलाम Bhogaishvarya gatim prati. 42 and 43.
Yam imam puspitam vacham
Yam imam pushpitam vacham
pravadanti avipashita
pravadantya vipashchita
vedavadarata partha
vedavadarata partha
nanyad astiti vadinaha
nanyadastiti vadina
kamatmana svargapara
kamatmana svargapara
janma karma falapradam
janma karma palapradam
kriya vishesha bahulam
kriya vishesha bahulam
Bhogaishvarya gatim prati
Bhogaishvarya gatim prati Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipashchita vedavadarata partha nanyadastiti vadina kamatmana svargapara janma karma palapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishvarya gatim prati
Yam imam pushpitam vacham
Yam imam pushpitam vacham
pravadantya vipashchitaha
pravadantya vipashchita
vedavadarata partha
vedavadarata partha
nanyadastiti vadina
nanyadastiti vadina
kamatmana svargapara
kamatmana svargapara
janma karma falapradam
janma karma palapradam
kriya vishesha bahulam
kriya vishesha bahulam
bhogaishvarya gatim prati
bhogaishvarya gatim prati
Yam imam pushpitam vacham
Yam imam pushpitam vacham
pravadanti avishpitaha
pravadantya vipashchita
veda gata partha
vedavadarata partha
nanyad astiti vadinaha
nanyadastiti vadina
karmatmana sargapara
karmatmana svargapara
dharma karma falapradam
janma karma palapradam
ya vishesho bahulam
kriya vishesha bahulam
bhogaishwaryo gatim prati
bhogaishvarya gatim prati yam imam.
Yam imam
All these
pushpitam
pushpitam flowery vacham words pravadanti say avipashchita men with a poor fund of knowledge vedavadarata supposed followers of the Vedas partha O son of Prita na never anyat anything else asti there is iti thus vadina the advocates kamatmana desirous of sense gratification svargapara aiming to achieve heavenly planets janma karma palapradam resulting in good birth and other fruitive reactions kriya vishesha pompous ceremonies bahulam various bhoga in sense enjoyment aishvarya and opulence gotim progress prati towards Translation: Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. People in general are not very intelligent. And due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratificatory proposals for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and women are available, and material opulence is very common. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotishtoma sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices, and men with a poor fund of knowledge thinking that this is the whole purpose of Vedic wisdom. It is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness. As fools are attached to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions, unenlightened men are similarly attracted by such heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment thereof. In the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, it is said, Apama somam amrita abhima and akshayam havai chaturmasya yajinam sukritam bhavati. In other words, those who perform the 4-month penances become eligible to drink somaras beverages, to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have somaras, to become strong and fit to enjoy sense gratification. Such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage, and they are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are generally sensual, and they do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood that there are gardens called Nanda Kanana, in which there is a good opportunity for association with angelic, beautiful women, and having a profuse supply of somaras wine. Such bodily happiness is certainly sensual. Therefore, there are those who are purely attached to such material temporary happiness as lords of the material world. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamaikam Dadati Shah Pandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. So we're speaking, Lord Krishna is speaking in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. And in the beginning of this chapter, he informed Arjuna that he is an eternal soul. He's not the body. Therefore, and just as a person, the consciousness travels from boyhood or girlhood to youth to old age through different bodies, similarly, the body, the soul, takes another body at death. So this is, people usually call this reincarnation, right? Reincarnation. And now he's making a different point. He's making a point about don't become caught up or infatuated with the idea of enjoying life in the heavenly planets. Now this is very interesting because quite often, in various religions, you have those that have an idea of reincarnation and those that have the idea of going to heaven. But in Bhagavad-gita, they're both described. But that's not the goal. Here, Lord Krishna is the author and knower of the Bhagavad-gita and the author and knower of Vedic knowledge. He is here warning Arjuna not to become distracted or enamored by the Vedic scriptural injunctions that seem to encourage the performance of religious ceremonies, pujas, sacrifices, austerities, just to improve our material standard of living. You follow? Practically everybody around the globe is busily engaged in endeavors to upgrade their worldly condition already, isn't it? Yeah?
When you say worldly condition, are you talking about a level of sense gratification?
Yes. Yes.
Material pleasures,
Yes.
worldly conditions is the
Yes.
level of sense
Yes.
gratification.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody is just trying to get ahead. Right? If a person has a career, he or she wants a promotion with a better salary, a more prestigious position. If you have a 2-bedroom apartment, you want 3 bedrooms, full basement, deck, in a good neighborhood with good schools. If you're entering college, you must get Ivy League. When you trade in your car, you want the latest gadgets, all of them. And if you're a sports fan, you must be a fan of the team that wins the championship. This is called material life. That's material life. Practically the whole population of every country on earth is spending their valuable time in exactly the same way, working hard to find ways to increase the quality and quantity of their material comforts. Isn't it? Everybody is doing that. It was very nicely illustrated when Srila Prabhupada first went to Japan when they were getting the Back to Godhead magazine printed by printers in Japan. At that time, the printing was especially good in Japan, and so the Hare Krishna movement got their magazines and books printed by a company called Dai Nippon. Dai Nippon, have you ever heard of that? Yeah, Dai Nippon. So Srila Prabhupada went there to the offices of Dai Nippon in Tokyo, and he was ushered into the boardroom to talk by a the youngest executive, junior executive. And everybody came in, one after another, top executives. And when they came in, they put their business card on the table. So they talked a little bit, but they put their business off till tomorrow. Finally, after introductions, and they wanted to have tea, but Srila Prabhupada said, no, we'll take hot milk instead. So after there was some formalities, some social interaction, they said, we'll put their business off till tomorrow. So all the executives left, except the junior executive stayed there. So then Prabhupada discussed a little bit with the junior executive. He said, what is your goal of life? So you know what the executive did? He took all of those business cards around the table, on this big table, and he put the president on first, vice president below, and he put his card, of course, on the bottom. And then he said, he took his card and he put it on top. Goal of life. That's a goal of life, right? But, religion is often conceptualized as a special strategy or gimmick tacked on to those same kind of pursuits to give a person an edge in becoming more successful in achieving that higher standard of life, of material enjoyment. In other words, it's a spin on the same business. Religion is a spin on the same business of trying to increase your material life. So the results may come in this life or the next, but this outlook of in improving our material condition pervades all kinds of faiths, sometimes directly and sometimes indirectly. For example, there's a famous quasi-religion, and this head of that religion said, if you want to get rich, you don't do it by becoming a science fiction writer. You start a religion, right? Very direct, very direct. In India, in Bengal, they used to have contests between groups doing kirtan, chanting the holy names of God, and who could get more ecstasy. And there was competition. At the end of the competition, the winners would get some special prize. So one group did their kirtan and they did a lot of ecstasy. And so the second group hired another person who was especially renowned to really have a great show of ecstasy. So they chanted and then he rolled and jumped and fell on the ground in ecstasy, but he only stayed there for a few moments. And then he got up. So the first group won, the second group lost. The second group was disappointed, so they went to say, how come you only stayed there on the ground for a few moments? He said, well, you only paid me 5 rupees. What do you expect for 5 rupees? How much bhava do you want for 5 rupees? How much ecstasy? So this is, right. This is, direct. But there's also something called have you heard of this, the prosperity theology? Or the prosperity gospel, the health and wealth gospel. So I looked this up a little bit. Is it there? Okay. So it's a religious belief among some Protestants, mostly Christians, that financial blessing and physical well-being are always the will of God for them. You follow? And that faith and donations to religious causes will increase one's material wealth. Prosperity theology views the Bible as a contract between God and humans, and if humans have faith in God, then He will naturally deliver security and prosperity. This doctrine emphasizes it's God's will for the people to be blessed, and reconciliation with God is interpreted to include freedom from sickness and poverty, which are viewed as curses which are nullified by their faith in God. This is said to be achieved by donations of money and confession. You understand? So you get some material good results, okay, in this life. In similarly motivated directions, you'll find in some parts of the Vedas, in an astonishingly utilitarian course, for example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that one who wants good children should worship the Prajapatis. And one who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi. And one who wants long life should worship the Ashwini Kumaras. And one who wants bodily beauty should worship the Gandharvas. And one who wants a beautiful wife should worship the heavenly angel damsels called the Apsaras. Other Indian teachers, for example, the Arya Samaj, also propose that one should do sacrifices for earthly benefit. I got this from their website. Yajna rituals are performed with the intention of achieving happiness through health wealth, strength, fame, and the protection from natural calamities. That's the purpose of yajna. And we find nowadays very popular Hatha Yoga teachers. It's become very popular as a kind of spiritual endeavor. But by rigorous practice of yoga, one can develop a healthy body. And with a healthy body, one can enjoy physical pleasures more fully and for a longer period of time. So the procedures we just talked about recommend the practicing of religious rituals for rewards in this life. Other teachings, like the teachings Lord Krishna is describing in this verse, and we're reviewing this evening, promise expanded and enduring pleasure in another realm after this life, in heaven. This is real. You might call it paradise. Some people might call it some other Elysian fields. Have you heard? Avalon, Swargalok. But the concept, what goes on there, is pretty much the same in all those places. So, for example, in the Greek background in the Elysian fields, initially they say, I mean, depending on the writer, they say that they thought it was an island somewhere, but gradually it became another world. But it's a place where the righteous and heroic go, and there's no toil there, since the trees bear bountiful fruit, and the earth gives grain without having to plow the field. There's no snow or heavy storms, and people live there untouched by sorrow. In Islamic scriptures, you'll find the conception of virgins. The Quran states that believing males will be rewarded with virgins in paradise. You know this. For example, in one of the 6 major hadith collections, it stated that every male admitted to heaven will be given the sexual potency, eternal sexual potency, and will be able to wed 72 wives, all with highly aroused libido. Also recognized by Islamic scholars, it's stated that God's servants will be married in heaven with 72 wives, and that they will have the sexual strength for 100. In the Judeo-Christian teachings, there's descriptions of progression of 7 heavens. You know this? Each one progressively better than the last, and each one more enjoyable. But there was a famous evangelist who had a fondness for playing golf. You heard this? And he said, "Boy, I sure hope they have golf courses in heaven." Yeah. And one of his followers said, "Well, when you go there, if they don't have them, they'll build them." The Vedas also describe a succession of planetary systems within this universe. Starting, we're on the Bhulok planetary system, and one step above Bhulok is Bhuvarlok. Then one step above Bhuvarlok is Svargalok, then Maharlok, then Jnanalok, then Tapalok, then Brahmalok, where Lord Brahma resides. Those planets above this Earth planet have a higher standard of living than we do on Earth, and they're usually termed the heavenly abodes. Nevertheless, the Bhagavad-gita, as said here, says that those who study the Vedas and drink soma juice, seeking heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. They take birth among the pious in the heavenly planets, where they enjoy godly delights. But when they have thus enjoyed various vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this material planet again, this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the flowery words of the Vedas only achieve birth and death. So it's Srila Prabhupada used to give the example, like if you're in jail, sometimes you have the third-class prisoner and a first-class prisoner. The third-class prisoner has to break rocks. Sometimes they're put in solitary confinement, and their suffering is more. Whereas a first-class prisoner, their disturbances are less. They sometimes have their own cell. They get their more time out in the yard. They can get some special amenities. But either a first-class prisoner or a third-class prisoner, there are both prisoners because they're subject to birth. I mean, in this world, the bars are for everyone, whether you're in the heavenly planets or in this planet or lower planets, birth, death, old age, and disease. So the Vedic literature describes there's a difference between the heavenly planets and the spiritual world. The heavenly life within this universe is certainly a higher standard of living than Earth. Lifespans are very long. Disease is minimal. There's abundant opportunity for sensual enjoyment. Just like we were saying, there's the people who do this Jyotishtoma sacrifice. The result of the Jyotishtoma sacrifice at the end, it goes on for several days. And the result is they get somaras. You know somaras? Westerners have been studying somaras for a long time to try to figure out exactly what that is. Some people say it must be cannabis or marijuana. Other people think it's ephedra or a certain type of mushroom. But they haven't been able to get to identify it. But anyway, in the Vedas it says you get this somaras and then you drink it and your lifespan and your strength will become very big. And the demigods who live in the heavenly planets, they like to get that somaras, and they drink the somaras, and their lifespans will increase very much. Almost like they're eternal. But the problem is, in this world, nobody's eternal. Even if you drink the somaras, it doesn't work. It's called a wild goose chase. Have you heard of that term? A wild goose chase, because you're thinking, in this world, we keep getting to a higher position, and we'll become free from the miseries of birth and death. No, doesn't work. Even though the life there in the heavenly planets lasts a long time, still life there ends. However, beyond this universe, there is a permanent place, Paravyoma, the spiritual sky, or Vaikuntha, which is eternal. So the distinction is made there in the Vedas between heaven and the spiritual sky. Heaven is a materially advanced place within this universe. But beyond the coverings of this universe is the spiritual sky, or Vaikuntha. When everything in this world is destroyed, that place, Vaikuntha, the spiritual, is not destroyed. So Lord Krishna in this verse is advising us against being infatuated, becoming distracted or infatuated by these plans for material advancement described in the Vedas for going to heaven, for a very good reason. Because material advancement is really an illusion. What is that illusion? Illusion means it's not going to last for long. And the endeavor to get there, to get that enjoyment, will never end, and it will never make you happy. We have been struggling for higher standards of living one way or another since time immemorial, lifetime after lifetime. Despite doing so, we have not arrived at a permanent solution and are still dogged by disease, old age, death, and rebirth. So then what is the solution? We spoke at the beginning about trying to improve your standard of life. And it's natural to want to do that. It's very natural. But we've just been going about it in the wrong way. We've been making the same mistake again and again, lifetime after lifetime, about how to achieve it. There is a fatal flaw in how we're going about that attempt, whether we're on earth or whether we're in the heavenly planets, whether we're in a man's body or a woman's body. We are all infected by the same defect in our thinking, in our attitude, and in our approach. And you'll find the same error permeates all the conceptions of heaven that we talked about before. This one error disqualifies us from escaping birth and death and becoming an associate of Lord Krishna in the eternal spiritual world. What is that? What is that error? We have this desire to become the principal enjoyer, making our pleasure the first and immediate goal of life. That is the defect that permeates our attitude, whether on earth or in heaven. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj, who wrote, a great acharya, teacher who wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita, put it very succinctly and simply. He said like this: Atmendriya priti vancha tare bolikam Krishnendriya priti icha dhare premna. Understand Bengali? Atmendriya priti. Atmendriya priti means these trying to satisfy your own senses. Boli, that's vancha, wanting to do that. Boli dhari kam, that's called lust. Krishnendriya priti, but icha dhare premna, but trying to satisfy the senses of Krishna, that's love. So in all those venues of the heavenly planets, the idea is, I want to get enjoyment first. But the Bhakti Yoga formula is, I want to satisfy Krishna first. And if Krishna is satisfied, primarily, then we can be satisfied. We will automatically be satisfied. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, we're talking about tapasya, jagyas, the Jyotishtoma Jagya. Bhoktaram Jagya Tapasam. I am the enjoyer of all these. The point of these sacrifices is that I will be satisfied. Sometimes people think, well, we'll do some sacrifice, we'll do some chanting, and that way we'll make rain come, or we'll do away with disease. Not. That may happen. But the point of activity that will bring you free from the material world is simply only to satisfy Krishna. That's it. That's called pure devotional service, bhakti yoga, real devotional service. So there were some associates of Krishna, you remember this, that were preparing to do a sacrifice to please Indra, the demigod, Indra. Why Indra? Well, they were farming people, and they thought, well, Indra's supplying rain, so we have to satisfy Indra, otherwise what's going to happen? Then he won't give us the rain, we won't have nice grasses, the cows won't have grass to eat. So Krishna specifically said, don't do that. Stop this, only worship Govardhan Hill. And then he incarnated as Govardhan Hill, just to stop his devotees from doing anything else but worship to serve Krishna. There were some Yajnik Brahmins who were there present at Krishna's time, and they were doing like those Jyotishtoma sacrifices. And Krishna sent the cowherd boys to beg from them, oh, can you give us some food for Krishna? And the Brahmins, the whole point of sacrifice is to please Krishna, but the Brahmin said, no. He ignored those people. He ignored those boys begging for food. Later, the wives of the Brahmins gave Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys unlimited food. And they were worried because their husbands tried to stop them. But Krishna said, don't worry. They will realize, your husband will realize that you are the actual knower of the Vedas, because they were pompous, doing pompous activities, Veda Vadarata, pompous activities, but they had neglected the purpose of the Vedas was to satisfy Krishna. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said this, he says, Manasa deho geho joki chumor. You know this one? Arpilun tua pode nandikishor. Then the next line. Sampade vipade jivana morane. If in happiness and distress, life jivane, life and death, I'm just your servant. Marubi rakobi, you can protect me or you can kill me. Marubi rakobi, marubi is kill. Right? Rakobi, you protect me. Jo ichatohar, whatever your desire, I'm still your servant. So this attitude, not the enjoying attitude, but this attitude is the attitude that will qualify somebody from going back to Godhead. So there's 6 symptoms of surrender, which this is embodied by this attitude. One should accept everything favorable for discharging devotional service. One should reject everything unfavorable for devotional service. One should firmly believe that the Lord will protect his devotee always. One should feel exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord. These are, everybody is getting their just desserts from their karma. But for a devotee, for someone who's a surrendered soul to Krishna, Krishna personally takes care of their needs. You have, if there's a child has a father, and the child goes to the tent, are you going to give me my breakfast today? Yeah. Are you going to drive me to school today? The parent automatically already knows what the child needs. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is supplying all species of life with their needs. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam. Eko bahunam yo vididati kaman. He will supply his devotee with his needs or her needs. Therefore it said, Ananyas chintayanto mam. You know this verse? Ananyas chintayanto mam. Ye jana paryupasate. Tesham nityabhayuktanam yoga kshema vahamyam. To those who are have no other thought or no other interest. They're not thinking of anybody else. Ye jana, and they're worshiping me in that way. Yoga kshema vihamyam. I carry what they lack and preserve. I preserve what they have and carry what they lack. Okay. So then I looked up on the Veda base if there's any other place where the word Vedavadarata is. Vedavadarata means somebody who's so-called followers of the Vedas. They follow the Vedas, but not in the. There's a similar word or concept in the Upadeshamrita. I think you know the Upadeshamrita, where Rupa Goswami gives recommendations for how to advance in devotional service and things to avoid in devotional service. So, things that will help you advance in devotional service are utsahan, enthusiasm, nishchaya, dharyat, patience, determination. Tatat karma pravartanat. Tatat karma pravartanat means doing your prescribed duties, your regular duties. What is that? What are the others? Utsaha, nishchaya, dharyat, tat karma. Sangatyaga, sutovrate, to avoid materially associating with material people, materially involved people, and sato, an association with devotees. Shadbir bhakti prasiddhyati, these things enliven devotional service. Then he says, atyahara. You know this? Atyahara means collecting too much, or atyahara prayashascha, over endeavor. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo. This is gossiping, yeah. Prajalpo. Niyamagraha. Niyamagraha has 2 meanings. You know this? 2 meanings means one meaning is not following the prescribed duties. And the other meaning is following the prescribed duties, but not for not the purpose, not knowing the purpose behind them. So that's another another way of saying Veda Vadarata. The Vedas, following the Vedas, but why in the Vedas are these things even there? To perform this sacrifice so you can go to the heavenly planets. Why is it even there? It's to get people in the habit of following rules and regulations, following the scriptural injunction. There was one time when a new devotee had joined, and Srila Prabhupada encouraged him, take as much prasadam as you like. So he did, of course. So then Srila Prabhupada came through, visited that temple maybe 2 years later, and then he said, he saw the same devotee, and he said, just eat enough to keep body and soul together. So the devotee said, you know what he said? He said, but Srila Prabhupada, you told me to eat as much as I like. Now you know what Prabhupada's response was? You followed me then, follow me now. You followed me then, follow me now. So to get people in the habit of following Vedic injunction, this is there. But the final Vedic injunction is that Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Surrender to me. You want to follow a Vedic injunction? Okay, this is the real Vedic injunction. Surrender to me. I'll protect you in all circumstances. Do not fear. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ya Imam Pushpitam Bhajam. Question? Yes, sir. I've got a question.
Couple. It's funny that last statement that you made. I just made this comment yesterday where when we come to Krishna consciousness and we first get that initial taste and that rush, everything's great, and then everything's perfect, and then over time it starts to wear on you, but then you realize that because of the time now you're aware of rules and regulations like Namapara, Gurupara, Vishnugada, but when the first taste you get, it's just pure nectar because you don't have any rules and restrictions. There's no hard and fast rules. You're chanting Hare Krishna and you're happy. And then it sort of tapers off a little bit when you start to get those boundaries. Can you comment on that?
The comment would be, and then when you first come and you get in association with devotees, pure devotees, there's something called a shadow attachment that develops. It's just, or in the association, there's a really wonderful experience, but that's temporary. So then you have to start doing the real work. Nobody joins Krishna consciousness who is a pure devotee. We've got all these other desires in our heart that have to be addressed. Usually, the reason we're all in the material world is, it's not nice to say, we don't like to say it, but all of us, me included, we're all envious. And when we come into an association with people who are not as envious as we are, as other people, that's a relief. But then we still have all those dirty things within the heart. So then we have to start the real work of cleaning ourselves out by continuing to associate, by regularly hearing Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, by chanting the holy names, going on Sankirtan, and that stuff. So that's the beginning as a chaya attachment. Yeah. You had two. You said you had two.
Well, yeah. It just reminded me when you said, when Prabhupada said, "Take all the prasadam you want." And he said, "Man, only take what you need to get by." It just shows how when time progresses. You said 2 years. That now there's rules and regulations that to get for advancement.
Yes, for further advancement. Yeah.
I was thinking about a couple things actually. The one thing was that Sri Prabhu always says that real yoga is bad for the economy.
What's that? Yes.
Real yoga or true yoga is bad for the economy. Because it's a multi.
Because you're going to reduce your material needs. Yeah. Simple.
And I guess that tied into where I was trying to go with the question, which we were talking about earlier, we think we're progressing by evolving, by moving up, but actually it's just the opposite. we're actually dumb.
When we get our material advancement, actually, when that Japanese junior executive put his card and put it on top, and Prabhupada chuckled and he said, he preached to him, he said, this is, even if you become the head of this Danapan, this is a temporary company in a temporary world, and this is a temporary universe. It won't make you happy. Happiness comes from developing your understanding and relationship with Krishna, and that what relationship is. I am the servant of Krishna. And if we can act in that way, that can give us some taste, a real taste that doesn't go away in any circumstance. I think I said it before. There was a famous president who said, "Ask not." You know this one? Ask not what Krishna can do for you. Ask what you can do for Krishna. That's Krishna consciousness. Bhakti yoga means. What can I do? I mean, what can we do? But Krishna is looking for our attitude of service. Therefore, he says, "Patram pushpam palam toyam." Give me, okay, you don't have a lot of stuff, okay. Give me just a little leaf, a little water, a little fruit. Anybody can get those things. A little flower. And yome bhaktya prayachat. If you offer them with love and devotion, I'll accept. When a little kid wants to give something to their parents, and they have to buy something at the store, who do they get the money from? Parents. No, but the parent may appreciate it because they're doing it because of consideration and love. So they appreciate it. So similarly, Krishna doesn't need anybody's service, but it's our opportunity, our great opportunity to be able to attempt to satisfy him by our endeavors, by hearing and chanting about him, by cleaning the temple, cooking nice offering, doing nice offering, chanting nicely, or singing nicely, playing kartal, playing drum, that stuff. Making garlands, so those garlands, nice garlands, deities, dressing the deities nicely. So, I mean, the activity in itself is not the thing, but the real thing is that you're trying to please Krishna by that effort. There's a temple in North India, maybe you've seen it, it's called Vidur Kuti. Have you been there? Vidur Kuti. So here in the Vidur Kuti, you have Vidura was a great devotee of Krishna. And when Krishna went to be the ambassador to the Kauravas' court on behalf of Maharaj Yudhishthira, because he wanted to beg for peace. They didn't want to fight the battle. So Duryodhan offered him a big feast because he thought, well, I'll get him indebted to me, and then I'll ask him to be give his stuff to me, give me blessings. Krishna wasn't hungry. Oh, that was a very big feast. He said, I'm not hungry. But he went to Vidura's house because Vidura was his devotee. And Vidura, when they came out, the wife brought a banana peel. A banana peel. So there's a deity of Krishna accepting the banana peel from Vidura's wife in Vidur Kuti because of her love for him. Similarly, was it Sudama? Sudama brought some, what do you call that? Poha? You call it poha?
Chira.
What do you call it? Chira, yeah. He just begged it from, that's all he had. But Krishna said, oh, you got something nice for me to take? Because he had appreciation and love for Krishna, therefore it became very wonderful. When I was a kid, the school I was going to, they had a baking day when different teachers baked things for sale. And the one teacher we had was always late, always smelled bad, always dirty, and a little bit drunk. So her food, nobody wanted. She brought some because nobody wanted that. Yeah. So if you're making things with love and for Krishna, naturally you'll accept, and then that becomes prasada. Yes, sir.
How do we understand if Krishna is like pleased with our work or service?
How do you know that Krishna is pleased? Good question. Very good question. When Krishna is pleased, then our material desires become lower. We're less attracted to material opulence. There's the verses in Bhagavad-gita. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. One may have a taste for sense. We're all here in this material world. We're still attracted to material enjoyments, but that enjoyment will cease if you get a higher taste. So if Krishna is pleased, then you will get some transcendental pleasure, and your attraction for the material enjoyments will reduce. Other ways you can tell. There's other ways. You can ask the devotees. The whole function or part of Krishna consciousness to have association of devotees is because in association of devotees you can get instruction about how to do better. We don't take advantage of it very much. But we're not, if we were really doing good, then we'd be like really in transcendental bliss and we'd be seeing Krishna face to face. But because we're not, that means we still have to improve. So you can say, how can I improve my service? How can I improve my service? What way can I improve my service? And then the devotee will say, well, no, Jai Ganesh Prabhu, you did that very well. You did that very well. I think you. When I was a new devotee, they asked to make me, I got to make new devotee working in the kitchen. So I made the dough for the puris one week. And so the next Sunday for the Sunday feast. So the next Sunday, I asked the head cook, I said, can you tell me how I could improve? Can you tell me how I can improve? So he said, you did everything right except do one thing better. You should do one thing better. You got to think of Krishna more when you're doing it. That's all. So, Ananyas chintayantomam. Without any other thought, Ananyas yejanat pariya. Those people who have no other thought, they're focused only on serving Krishna and Krishna's happiness, then Krishna carries to them what they lack and preserves what they have. Comment on what his question? It's a good question. Sometimes, Krishna will reciprocate with you in a certain way, which doesn't happen that often, but it does happen sometimes. For example, Krishna might show you some things sometimes. Yes?
Or,
What's that?
take away your opulence. Krishna.
Yeah, that's Krishna says. He said that. Yes, yaham anuganami harishye taddanam shanai. When he's really, really merciful to you and he's really kind, he takes away your taddanam shanai means step by step. He takes away stuff, your material attachments from you. Taddanam shanai. That was Lord Krishna said that personally to when Yudhishthira Maharaj asked him, how come the devotees of Shiva get all this stuff? They have all this stuff. And the devotees of Krishna, they're sometimes poverty-stricken. Krishna said that. Well, when I'm really merciful. Because, like we were reading here about going to the heavenly planets. Well, you go to the heavenly planets, you get attached to that enjoyment, that soma ras. You get addicted to that soma ras. And then, because it's a material enjoyment, you get carried away, you forget your position, and then you come back down in the material world, either this level or down. That's something different that people don't know. In the Vedic literature, once you become a human, you can go up or you can go down. Some people think, like there's theosophists, they say, once you're human, that's it. But you can go up or you can go down. Bhagavad-gita says, Urdhvam gachanti sattvasta, madhyata chanti rajasa, jaganya gunavitishta. If you're situated in sattva gun, you go up to the higher planets. Urdhvam means up. Gachanti sattvasta, in sattva gun. Madhyam tishtanti rajasa. And if you're in the mode of passion means you're really ambitious for progress, especially, but you follow moral codes. And Jaganya Gunavritista Ado Gachanti. And if you're in the mode of ignorance, you go down, either to lower planets or to animal life. That's possible. That happens. And it's going to happen to every one of us. We're all going to come up to the point of death. It's not that far away. And what is your next life going to be? Where are you going in your next life? Where? What you do now determines your next life. What you think now determines your next life. So we practice thinking of Krishna now, thinking of God, you can become godly. It's coming. Yes, sir.
You discussed for Somaras.
Yeah.
Heaven. So when was Kamsa there, Dhanukasura also making some Somaras, there were some Krishna books, yes, for sending to Kamsa, and when Krishna and Balaram going there fighting Dhanukasura.
They were
That was in Talavan.
Talavan, yeah.
That is same. My question is that is same that when in heaven they're taking Somaras.
Oh, they used to make somaras on this earth planet too, because Jyotishtoma, there's different days of the sacrifice in Jyotishtoma, you probably know. And then at the end they grind the somaras and then they distribute the somaras. So it's on this earth planet, yeah. But
that is taste is sweet.
You've had it.
No. Yes, before you discuss that somewhere different scriptures that discuss that it is very mushroom or something like
That's that not scriptures say that. That's like scientists, because they really want to know what is that somaras. And sometimes people hear. I mean, Prabhupada described it as wine. You hear it says wine. He said somaras wine.
But in Krishna books they mention in Talavan, they're making from thala fruits. That is sweet.
Yes.
That's why I said that is sweet.
Yes. So some people think, oh, it's some kind of they're drinking beer because that's somaras. No. But even the demigods, they drink somaras, but they're still worried about their longevity. Because in this world, in this universe, everything is temporary. Everybody is temporary. Even you have a very long duration of life. It's okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Another one.
One question.
You mentioned you discussed that for Brahmanas we fight sacrifice something and Krishna sending his friends
Yes.
ask some foods
Yes.
dinner and going to their wives.
Yes.
This when it was happened, when Krishna was in Nandagaon or in Gokul?
That was after he was in Nandagaon, yeah.
This place is near Dr. Bhat Road, that is nearby Akrur Ghat in Yamuna. It is near to Gokul. Opposite side is Gokul.
Oh, really?
This side
Okay.
is that opposite side is Gokul. There.
At that time, the cowherd boys were still herding the calves, so it was before they were 6 years old.
Nandagaon.
Yeah.
Very long distance. 70 kilometers, more than 70.
Well, things happen differently. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
take this one.